Hello everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar today. So let's wait a minute for everyone to join, and while we are waiting, where are you actually calling from? So I'd like to know what city, from which country are you connected to this webinar, just to see which countries are actually interested in this kind of a webinar. I'm calling in from Zagreb, from Croatia. So how about you? And while we are waiting for your inputs, just a couple of notes here. First, this webinar is recorded, so you'll be able to see the recording of this webinar on the same page where you're watching this webinar now. And second, we will also create the presentation deck from this PowerPoint presentation that you will be watching during the webinar, and I'll explain you how you can download this PowerPoint presentation deck at the end of the webinar. So please stick until the end of the webinar, and I'll explain where and how to download this presentation deck. Okay, let's see if anything came through. Okay, so I see people from UK, from Serbia. Okay, great. So a couple of European countries, which is, I would say, understandable, since this is European. These are European topics. Also from the Netherlands. Great. Okay, thank you for sharing this. Great. Okay, let's start with this webinar. So basically, thanks for joining this webinar about NIS2 and DORA, and about consulting opportunities. My name is Dejan Kosutic, and I'm the main expert for NIS2, DORA, and ISO 27001 in Advisera. Advisera is a company that makes these frameworks and standards easy to understand and simple to use. And this webinar today will last approximately 35, maybe 45 minutes, depending on the number of questions. And by all means, please do send your questions, and I'll try to answer your questions even during the webinar. Also, at the end, I'll also go with the Q&A, and there I will answer all of your remaining questions. But again, if you want to ask any questions, feel free to do it during my webinar, during my presentation, and I'll try to answer your question right away, and it will make the presentation more interesting, I would say. Okay, very well. Let's move on to the next slide. And this is why is this really important, and why is there, I would say, a big opportunity for consultants? This is because there are about 130,000 companies within European Union that will have to comply with NIS2 and DORA. As you will later on see, there are more than 100,000 companies related to NIS2, and a little bit more than 20,000 for DORA. But actually, maybe even the bigger potential is really in their IT suppliers, because both DORA and NIS2, as you will later see during my presentation, the IT suppliers of these companies that are in NIS2 and DORA scope, their suppliers, IT suppliers, also have to comply with certain security standards. And the number of these suppliers is much higher than this 100,000, so probably 500,000, maybe even 1 million companies. So I would say that there is a big opportunity here for consultants. So what I'll go through in the webinar today is what are these main requirements that companies need to comply with regards to NIS2 and DORA. I'll also explain the perspective from what these suppliers, IT suppliers, need to comply with, and also present what are the main pains these companies have, and basically where you can actually offer your consulting services to all of these companies. And of course, this webinar today is really intended for cybersecurity consultants, mainly I would say for consultants that are dealing with ISO 27001, because this is I would say a framework that is a very good, let's say, foundation for NIS2 and DORA. But in any case, any consultant that really wants to excel and find new markets for their consultancy. Okay, very well. So let me move on. So one of my main points today that you will see is that as I was saying, you know, this NIS2 and DORA is a very good opportunity, but it's specifically for ISO 27001 consultants. And why? Because you will see that many things in NIS2 are very similar to ISO 27001. DORA is not so much similar to ISO 27001, but still requires their suppliers to be compliant with various cybersecurity standards. Amongst them could be also 27001. So they're very close, I would say, directly or indirectly with 27001, and therefore I think that any consultant that is already skilled in 27001 can actually find a very good opportunity in NIS2 and DORA. And of course, I'll explain you the details during the webinar today. Okay, so I'll go now through the agenda, and by the way, let me know through chat which of these topics are you interested in the most. So let me, just send me a message, and then I'll know what you would like me to focus on during the webinar, where I should spend most of the time during the webinar. So simply send me a short chat message so that I see actually where to focus on during the webinar today. Okay, so first I'll go through what is NIS2. Basically, I'll explain some basics, and also who needs to comply with this directive. The same thing for DORA. So basically, what is this regulation and who needs to comply. I'll also explain for both NIS2 and DORA which suppliers need to comply. There are a little bit different rules for NIS2 and DORA, and I'll also explain this. And I'll also show what are the opportunities here for consultants, and basically what are at least from my experience, what are the biggest pains, what are the biggest needs actually for knowledge and for consultation from either companies that are within NIS2 or DORA scope, but also what are the pains of these suppliers, IT suppliers to these companies. And at the end, I'll also show you a couple of tools that Advisera has developed for consultants that you can actually use to work with your clients. And yeah, of course, I'll go through the Q&A session at the end. Okay, let me see if there are any questions coming in. Okay, so Philip is saying that he's interested in which suppliers need to comply. Okay, I'll definitely focus on that topic as well. I have 2 or 3 slides actually around suppliers and what are the specifics for suppliers. Okay, very well. Now let me move on. Good, so let's first go through NIS2, some basics of NIS2 very shortly. So basically NIS2 was published like 2 years ago, but it came into effect last month, actually 2 months ago, so in October 2024. Now it's not directly applicable to companies, so it serves as a kind of a baseline for EU countries to publish their own cybersecurity laws and regulations. So they have to actually go with the minimum that is written in NIS2, but of course they can publish some more stricter requirements there. Now, out of 27 countries, maybe 5 or 6 have published their own laws and regulations. So I would say the majority of these laws and regulations will be published during 2025. So I expect most of these compliance activities for NIS2 actually to happen during 2025. So big year is coming for NIS2. Now, which companies need to comply with NIS2? There are basically 3 criteria that companies have to. So all of these 3 criteria have to be taken into account. So if all of these 3 items are checked, then basically the a company needs to comply. So first of all, a company needs to operate in European Union. This means that it provides products or services within EU. Second, it needs to be more than 50 employees and more than 10 million in revenue. And third, it needs to operate in any of these 18 sectors. So I'll switch the screen now and show you basically these sectors. So just give me a second. And basically, I'm showing you now the article which speaks about these 18 sectors. And what we will do is we will share now the link with you where you will actually find this article. Yeah, let me see. Okay, so here you go. Now, if you joined through YouTube, then you'll be able to click this link and directly see the article. If you joined through LinkedIn, then because of some limitations in LinkedIn, actually this link that you see in chat is not clickable. So the way to get around it is basically to copy this URL that you see in LinkedIn chat and paste it into your browser, and then you will be able to open this article. Okay, so basically, again, in chat window you see this link to open this article, but anyway, let me show you what are these 18 sectors. So when you scroll down, you see that there is this energy sector, okay, and then it also specifies some subsectors like, electricity, heating, cooling, oil, and so on. I'm not going to read all of them. So transportation, then you have banking, financial market infrastructures, health. It also includes, healthcare providers like hospitals, these kind of things. Drinking water, wastewater, digital infrastructure, ICT management, ICT service management, business to business. This basically includes managed service providers and managed security service providers. Public administration, basically government bodies. Space industry, and then you have postal and courier services, waste management, manufacturing, production and distribution of chemicals, production, processing and distribution of food, manufacturing, digital providers, and research. So basically these are these 18 sectors that are relevant for NIS2. So in other words, if you actually check all of these three items, location, size, and industry, then your company has to comply with NIS2. Now, just to explain what happens if your company is based, let's say, out of European Union. Let's say that you have an American company which also has a subsidiary in, let's say, European Union, which does check all of these three criteria. Then this subsidiary needs to be compliant with NIS2, not necessarily the mother company in some other country. Okay, I see a question from Robert. We would like to have a copy of the slides. I have a meeting, we'll provide the link at the end of the webinar. So if you can't stay any longer in the webinar, feel free to come back and you will see this published on the same page where you joined this webinar. So you will be able to download this at the end of the webinar. Okay, now there are about 110,000 companies which will have to comply. This is estimated by European Commission, European Council. So we'll see if this is really the right number. It might be actually a little bit larger. And the main requirements actually that companies need to comply with are these Article 20, 21, and 23. Now, let me show you how this looks like in practice. So what I'm showing you now is this full text of NIS2 directive. Actually what we will also share with you now the link to this NIS2 directive. You can see it also now in the chat window. And basically it's, again, these are articles 21 and 20, 21, 23. I'll show you now how they look like. So Article 20 is governance. When you click it, you will see the full text. So basically it says that management bodies must approve the risk management measures. Okay, they need to oversee the implementation, and it says that the members of the management bodies are required to follow training and basically offer the similar training to employees on a regular basis. So basically this is what Article 20 is, right? When you go for Article 21, here it lists several items that companies need to be compliant with. So policies, risk analysis, information system security, incident handling, business continuity, backup, disaster recovery, crisis management, and so on and so forth. As you can see, these requirements are, I would say, rather generic, and NIS2 doesn't provide too many details on how to implement those. So basically when you go for this Article 23, let me skip through this 22 because that's not really relevant. Article 23, reporting obligations. Here it's a little bit more specific. Basically it says that you know, the reporting needs to have happen first. This early warning needs to happen within 24 hours. Then you have this incident notification within 72 hours. And so on and so forth. So here in this Article 23, it's a little bit more specific rather than these two first articles. So what is the point here? The point is that all of these companies that need to become compliant with NIS2, they will be looking for some kind of a framework, some kind of a guidance on how to do this. And ISO 27001, I would say, is directly the most relevant, the best actually standard to actually help these companies get compliant with NIS2. And we have also an article which maps NIS2 with ISO 27001. I will send you also now the link to this article, and you will be able to learn more about these mappings when you see the article. So here you go. You have actually have it now in the chat window. Right, now let's move on to the next slide. What about suppliers? So basically, what is it the suppliers have to, suppliers of NIS2, of companies that are in NIS2, what do they have to comply with? First of all, it's important to understand that suppliers of NIS2 companies do not need to be compliant with NIS2. So there is no such requirement. However, NIS2 does say that basically suppliers will have to comply with either European cybersecurity certification scheme or international cybersecurity standard. It doesn't specify directly ISO 27001, but I mean ISO 27001 is the biggest cybersecurity standard, international cybersecurity standard. So basically, indirectly, it points, I mean, NIS2 points actually towards either ISO 27001 or this European Cybersecurity Certification Scheme as the basically direction in which these suppliers will need to comply. So basically this is it. So not a very strict requirement, but good enough for any consultant to find lots of clients, because again, you simply have to find all of these suppliers for NIS2 companies and actually offer them your services. Okay, now when it comes to suppliers, just to mention that according to NIS2, they will companies that are within NIS2 scope, they will have to assess the vulnerabilities of each supplier. They will have to, I would say, monitor and take into account the overall quality of their products and services, and they will also have to monitor their secure development procedures, meaning software development procedures. So there will be, I would say, a stronger oversight from these NIS2 companies towards their suppliers. And this is additional reason why these companies, supplier companies, have to comply with a security standard. Okay, we'll also send you now a link to this free download, free white paper called Comprehensive Guide to NIS2 Directive. And it's good because it's you can actually read, it's basically a kind of a book with all these articles that we published on NIS2, and you can find everything in PDF. So if you want to download something and read without visiting websites, then this might be a good way to do it. Okay, so this is basically very shortly around NIS2. Now let's go for DORA. DORA was published also in 2022, basically on the same day as NIS2, and it comes into effect in January 2025, so basically in a little bit more than 1 month. Now, it applies basically to almost the whole financial sector in European Union, so banking, insurance companies, investment firms, and so on and so forth. You can, I'll send you also the link to this the full text of DORA, so you can actually see who needs to comply. But the point here is that almost everyone needs to. Yeah, you can see now in the chat the full text. So the point is that almost whole sector, financial sector, needs to comply. There are some exceptions, but they're, I would say, minor. Now there are about 22,000 financial organizations that will have to comply. And most important chapters here are chapters 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll show you now when I switch to the full text of DORA, you'll see now how this looks like. Of course, you can also open this link that we have already sent you. So basically, you can see this. Here's the full text of DORA. Now, chapter 2 is about ICT risk management. Chapter 3, ICT related incident management, classification and reporting. Chapter 4, digital operational resilience testing. This is, I would say, rather close to concept of business continuity. And if you're familiar with ISO 22301, then this will be kind of, let's say, closer to you. Chapter 5 is around managing of ICT third-party risk. So ICT stands for Information and Communication Technology. So basically it's about IT suppliers. So as you can see, these chapters 2, 3, and 4 are relevant for companies. The other chapters are not so much. It's more for government bodies that have to enforce DORA. So when I open this chapter number 2, there's this article 5 around governance. There are these articles 6 about risk management framework, systems, protocols, tools, and so on. So let's open one just for you to get a feeling on how much more into detail this goes. So for this article 5 in DORA, you see all of these things are something that DORA prescribes when it comes to governance. Now, if you compare this to NIS2, if you remember in NIS2 in this article 20, there are only 2 paragraphs. Here it's much more detailed. Now let me show you some other articles just to get a better feeling on how detailed this is. Let's say backup. So you have this whole article around backup and recovery procedures, right? Whereas in NIS2 you have only basically 1 sentence around backup. So you can see that this DORA is much more prescriptive and much more precise when it comes to these requirements. Now this is actually not all. There are also these CDRs. So basically these CDRs are these are commission delegated regulations, but these commission delegated regulations are basically some kind of appendices to DORA. And you actually can see these full text of these appendices also on our website. Now we will send you this link to this page. It's called DORA Where to Start. And then when you scroll down, you will see all of these articles as well as articles about DORA, but also articles, full text for DORA and full text for these CDRs. We'll share you now the link for these 9 key requirements that are specified in DORA. So if you want to read more about DORA and what it requires, you can also open this article about these main requirements. Okay, anyway, so my point was what I wanted to show you really here is that this is much more detailed than NIS2. And in this case, 27001 is not as useful as for NIS2, because again, for NIS2, 27001 is useful because NIS2 doesn't tell you how to implement it. DORA is so specific that it basically does tell you how to implement and what kind of things you have to do. However, what DORA does not have is a kind of an overall management approach, and I would say ISO 27001 is very useful as a kind of a general framework for managing cybersecurity. Because when you read DORA, there is so much detail, but it doesn't give you kind of a holistic picture on how to manage all of these things. And this is where 27001 is good. It gives you basically a more general approach on how to fit various things into some I would say sensible approach to managing cybersecurity. Right, now let's move on further. Now let's speak about IT suppliers and how they need to comply with DORA. And basically these IT, or as they call them, ICT suppliers, are any company providing digital and data services through ICT systems to financial entities. So, software developers, cloud providers, but also telecom providers are basically, coming under this definition. Now, what DORA says is that basically all ICT service providers must comply with security standards. This is specified in Article 28 of DORA. It doesn't again say which ones, but again, ISO 27001 being the leading international cybersecurity standard basically presents itself as the best solution here. They also have to comply with contractual obligations, and interestingly enough, DORA requires financial organizations to actually organize awareness and training for their suppliers, right? So it's not only that their suppliers have to do it, actually financial organizations have to organize this for their suppliers. So there are a couple of, I would say, opportunities here for consultants. Of course, basically any IT supplier for DORA company will have to comply with DORA, with 27001, but on top of this, these training and awareness is something that is also an opportunity for consultants that are dealing with cybersecurity. And I'll speak about this in a couple of minutes. Okay, let me send you now a couple of links. There is this article which is called "Which IT Companies Need to Comply with DORA and How?" And there you will see a much more detailed explanation on basically what exactly are the requirements in DORA and basically how IT suppliers can go for these and comply with these requirements. Now, this is actually not the end of the story around IT suppliers, because DORA basically distinguishes between, let's say, regular IT suppliers and, now let me move on to the next screen, and critical ICT service providers, right? So basically these critical ones are, okay, there's a definition, it's rather lengthy, I'm not going to go too much into it. Basically these critical ones are the ones that support some critical and important functions within financial organizations. You'll find it also in this Article 31. Now, interestingly enough, who is the one to determine who are critical suppliers? Not financial organizations that are paying for these services, but actually this is determined by government bodies. Okay, so government bodies, these are these ESAs, right? So these European supervisory authorities, they will determine who is a critical ICT service provider, and they will be using this CDR 2024-1502. And if you want, you can take a look at what is specified there to understand basically what criteria they will use. Now, what is important is that these critical ICT service providers will actually have to be even more they will be even more regulated than, let's say, ordinary ICT suppliers according to DORA. So the additional requirements are this oversight by lead overseer. Basically, lead overseer is a government body that will supervise what these ICT service providers are doing. Okay, so it's interesting, right? So if you're an IT company providing, I don't know, software for banking core systems, you will be supervised not only by the bank itself, you will be also supervised by a government body in charge of supervision of these kind of suppliers. There are dozens of these additional contractual obligations that are specified in DORA. Also, the DORA specifies how these non-EU suppliers are treated and how they're regulated, and it also introduces fines and penalties. And what I didn't write here, but it's interesting, is that actually these critical ICT service providers will have to pay the fee for being supervised by this lead overseer, right? So they will have to pay, I think the amount is right, something like pretty much, I'm not sure, but I think it's around 50,000 euros that will be per year, a minimum fee that will have to be paid by these service providers, but I'm not 100% sure here. I'll have to check this out again. Okay, so if you are a regular supplier, 27001 will be, let's say, more than enough. If you are this critical supplier for DORA organization, then you will have to actually upgrade your security, so to say, and go with these and make sure that you're compliant with all of these additional things. So what is the opportunity here for consultants? The opportunity is even bigger because these IT suppliers will, struggle to become compliant with all of these things, and of course here you will need to actually use not only 27001 but also other, let's say, frameworks to help these companies out. Okay, now let's move on. Another link that I wanted to share with you is this comprehensive guide to DORA regulation. So again, it's a white paper, a free download that you can download, and here you can see the most important articles that we published around DORA, so you can download this and see everything that is important. Right, now let's move on to the next slide. And this is really a kind of a summary of opportunities for consultants. So first of all, it's important to understand that you actually have two target groups. First target group are companies that are within the scope of NIS2 and DORA, right? Of course, they are not the same, so I could have listed them as separate ones, but basically these are the companies that have to be compliant either with DORA or with NIS2. And in this case, you can target these either critical infrastructure companies or financial organizations and help them become compliant with NIS2 and DORA. My feeling is that that unless you already have some kind of a deep relationship with a larger company, you won't be able to actually access these larger companies. But there are many of these smaller and mid-size companies that must comply with the NIS2 and DORA that are not really ready yet, and it seems to me that there is a bigger market opportunity for these mid-size and smaller organizations that must become compliant. However, even bigger opportunity might actually be for their IT suppliers. Again, both NIS2 suppliers, both the suppliers of NIS2 companies and suppliers of DORA companies, financial organizations, must be compliant with international standards for cybersecurity. So there might be a very good opportunity there to offer your services. Now, what are the biggest challenges, the biggest pains that these companies have? First of all, big pain is really around initial compliance. So, writing all the documentation, setting up all the security processes, setting up a cybersecurity program or ISMS in terms of ISO 27001. In general, setting this cybersecurity governance is, from my experience, the biggest challenge these companies have, because in most cases they do already have the technology, but they don't actually know good. Their basically internal processes and rules and responsibilities are not set good enough. Okay, so they have very good technology or basically very good or good enough technology, but very often their governance and they didn't define who needs to do what properly when it comes to security. Of course, there will be some technologies which will need to be implemented, so technical implementation is also certainly something that many consultants and of course technology vendors are seeing a big opportunity there. But what I also see is a big opportunity for continuous training, because if you remember, both NIS2 and DORA specify very exact requirements for training. So NIS2 specifies, just to repeat, NIS2 specifies that not only the senior management but the whole company, all employees within the company have to be trained, and awareness needs to be raised for cybersecurity. For DORA, it's basically the same, but DORA also adds that financial organizations have to organize this cybersecurity training and awareness for their ICT suppliers. Okay, so there is also a big, I would say, opportunity there. So, putting this all together, I think there is, and putting the number of companies that are involved here, so 130,000 companies within DORA and NIS2 scope, plus 500,000 to 1 million of their suppliers, that's a pretty formidable number of actually potential. This shows you the potential of the market. Okay, let me see if there are any questions. If no questions, okay, let me continue. Good. So the question is also, how can we help as Advisera as a company? We did develop a couple of solutions for not only for end clients, but also for consultants, so that consultants can actually work with their clients. And there are a couple of them. Let me just list them for implementation. This is a NIS2 documentation toolkit. So basically, this is a set of all the documents that you need for NIS2. We're also, okay, I'll share the link now with you. So basically it's I'll show you how it works, but just in general, so these are all the templates that you need, and also this is you will see the wizard that actually takes you through to writing all of these documents. We are now working on DORA documentation toolkit. It will be published in by the end of this year. So it also will contain all the templates that are specific for DORA. ISO 27001 toolkit. This is already something that we are selling for a very long time. Basically, we are a market leader there, and also this 𝗂𝗲𝗶𝘀𝗲 software. So we'll now send you the links to all of these products, but let me also show you now how this looks like in practice, and what exactly what kind of benefit there is from using this kind of products. So let me switch now to NIS2 documentation toolkit. So basically this is how this interface looks like, and it shows in steps basically all things that you have to all the steps that you have to do to comply with NIS2, and then for each of these it provides you with policies and procedures that are needed. So for example, for let's say top level policy, there is only one policy on information system security. But when it comes to, let's say, general cybersecurity policies and procedures, you see that there are several of them. Actually, there are 22 of them. And you also see what are the relevant articles in NIS2 and DORA needed for that one. So, for example, when you click it, you will actually be brought here to this wizard, which helps you fill out the documents. And basically what this wizard does is it remembers what you have entered previously into wizards for other documents, and then suggests you these things for next documents. So for example, it already remembered that the name of the person to review the documents, to approve the documents, is John Smith, that the confidentiality level is, I don't know, confidential. When you move on next, who is the owner, these kind of things. And basically once you fill these things out, of course you can change anything here. So let's say that you want to have the owner is, I don't know, CTO. And then you can simply download the document. And when you open it, I'll show you now how it looks like. What it does, it directly inserts the logo of the company, because this is also one of the things that I uploaded before, and now it automatically inserts the logo, the name of the company. It inserts these things like approver. If you remember, this is something entered through this wizard, also the confidentiality level, and so on and so forth. And of course you can when you download this, you can simply work with this a document, because it's in a Word format. It's on your local disk. You can do whatever you want with it. So basically you can adapt it in any way that you see fit. So you can define what are the, let's say, additional classification criteria. So I don't know, you can write whatever you see as appropriate. And of course you can define change the text to whatever, I don't know, this might be entering, so this might be the, I don't know, owner of inventory of assets. Okay, so this is basically how this NIS2 documentation toolkit looks like. Of course, when you go back, you will see, and you can create all these other documents in the same way. Of course, you can download all of this toolkit right away without using this wizard, so this is also an option. Now, there is also this ISO 27001 documentation toolkit. So basically it's something that already exists. It's I would say 70% similar to NIS2 toolkit, but NIS2 toolkit does have some documents that are not in 27001 toolkit and vice versa, because they're not 100%, there is no 100% overlap. But basically, again, if you have a client that wants to be compliant with 27001, it works in a very similar way. You will also see here that we have these toolkits in several languages, so French, I don't know, German, these kind of things. We also started translating NIS2 toolkit into other languages. So what we're doing now for NIS2 toolkit is that we're adapting a NIS2 toolkit for each and every particular country. So for example, Belgium, Croatia, Latvia, Lithuania, Hungary have published their own cybersecurity laws and regulations. So what we are doing now for NIS2 toolkit is publishing the version of a NIS2 toolkit that is adapted for these specific local laws and regulations, and we will translate them into these languages. Good. Besides this, we also have this 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀 software. And basically what 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀 software, it does, it helps, it automates ISO 27001. Basically it's very similar to the toolkits, but 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀 also has not only these documents and these steps, it also has this risk register, and basically it helps you, automate these things that are pretty work intensive. So it helps you speed up these risk register. It helps you speed up the statement of applicability. It also helps you speed up the audit evidence, because it shows you for each and every clause, where to find particular evidence and so on. So I would say that this 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀 software is, I would say, an upgraded version of the toolkit, whereas it doesn't focus only on documents. It has all these documents, but also some other things. Okay, so going back to my presentation, all of these products are available also for consultants. So we are also offering these tools for consultants, and there are actually many consultants that are already using these tools and as a basis for working with their clients. Okay, good. Now also what I wanted to mention is this training, and basically here for training we have this company training academy. It's a separate product, and we'll send you now the link also so you can see it. In any case, let me show you very briefly how it works. So basically, once you log into this company training academy, what you can do is create training programs for specific groups of users. So for example, when I go for set up new training, I select the framework, let's say NIS2. And then I say, okay, I want to create a training program for, let's say, senior management, right? And then I click this here, and then it will automatically suggest you the set of videos which are appropriate for senior management, right? And these are videos different from, I don't know, the videos for IT employees, because obviously they are very different in knowledge and interest, right? And then when you click continue, then it basically enables you to choose a country. Because we are also creating country-specific videos, because there are some, let's say, rules that exist in Croatia because of the local Croatian law, but that do not exist in other European countries. So basically then this training program enables you to watch these also these videos specific for a particular country. And what we are actually working on now is that we have not only videos in English, we will also have very soon videos in German, Dutch, French, Spanish, and other larger European languages, but also in some smaller European languages. So for example, we are translating also into Croatian. So our intention here is to cover from the framework point of view, all the major frameworks like NIS2, DORA, ISO 27001. We'll be adding also GDPR. We also already have the cybersecurity awareness, and to cover all of these in several languages so that it's not focused on English only. Anyway, when you click next, then it suggests you already all these videos, and Most of these videos are around 5 minutes, as you can see. And they explain the basics. So let's say basic cybersecurity hygiene. You can of course click preview and see how this looks like. So it's a video. Yeah, so basically I don't want to take too much time on this. What you can do is actually remove some of these things if you don't want to. Okay, remove, it will be gone. You can also rearrange, the sequence of these videos, and so on and so forth. Of course, there is also a big library of videos where you can add some other videos. Once you complete this planning, you simply click continue, and then you define how often these videos need to be viewed by the users. So for example, you can say that you want the users to see them, I don't know, once a week, and that you want them to see these on Thursdays, right? And then you define the starting program, you set how often this needs to be repeated, and then click continue and click next. And then basically it asks you to enter the email addresses of the people who need to receive these notifications. Of course, you can enter as many email addresses as you want here. And then when you go for continue, then you can define if they need to watch the videos, or if you want these people also to see the quizzes, or if you want also them to be tested. And this is basically for you the way to actually measure their level of their knowledge. And then you have this reporting dashboard which shows you very nicely, who has passed the test, what is the score, and so on and so forth. So you will see, you will have a very powerful tool for measuring the success of these trainings. Okay, you actually, when you open these links that we have sent you, you will be able to test all of these products out. So there is a free trial for all of these. For documentation toolkits, for this company training academy, for Conformio, there is a free trial, so feel free to sign up and test how everything here is working. Just a couple of more words around this company training academy. We're working now on a special version for company training academy for consultants. You will be able actually to white label this solution, so you will be able to show your logo rather than Advisera's logo, and you will be able to upload your own materials. So you'll be able to show your own videos, or your own, I don't know, PDF materials, or I don't know, PowerPoint presentations also here in this learning management system. Okay, not to take too much time, let me move forward. Let me switch to my presentation. Good. So as a conclusion, if you already are in ISO 27001 consulting, then NIS2 and DORA will, I would say, increase the demand directly for this standard, primarily because of IT suppliers, but also indirectly because this can serve as an underlying framework for companies in NIS2 and DORA scope. And of course, you can make your consulting projects easier with these Advisera tools for all these frameworks. And we'll also send you now a link to schedule a call with our toolkit and our training expert, and he will show you all the documents and show you how to set up the training. So here you can see this link now. Okay, very well. So yeah, let me move on to the Q&A session. Okay, I'll start answering your questions now, but so please do send me all of your questions through chat, and while I'm waiting for your questions, let me just give you a couple of announcements here. So first of all, feel free to reach out to me directly through email and ask any questions, and here's my email address. Let me show it on the screen. So feel free to send any email with any questions you may have around consulting or these standards. Second, you can follow me on my on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So on YouTube, I published lots of videos around ISO 27001 and around NIS2. I'm planning also to publish some videos on DORA. So if you're interested in these videos, take a look at my YouTube profile. And on LinkedIn, I'm posting on a daily basis some interesting articles around cybersecurity governance, around 27001, around NIS2, DORA. So you want to see, let's say, news or all the, let's say, new developments around these frameworks, then feel free to follow me on my LinkedIn account. Okay, another announcement, my next webinar next Wednesday will be about ISO 27001 documentation toolkit. And I'll show you which documents are included in this toolkit. I'll also show you what kind of support is included. So if you want to learn more about this toolkit, sign up for the webinar next week, and you can actually see the links for signing up for these webinars on the screen now. Also, we've sent you previously these links for my YouTube and LinkedIn channel, so you can also check them out in the chat window. Okay, good. Let me see which questions came in. Okay, so question from Damilk, find the link to my article. Aha, okay, so you're sending a link to your article around DORA. Okay, very well, good. Let me see if there. Philip is asking, will there be a training for DORA? Yes. So I already delivered a training around DORA earlier this year, but I'm certainly planning to deliver another training focused specifically on DORA in well, probably February. So stay tuned. If you're on our mailing list, or if you're following me on LinkedIn, then you'll certainly see these notifications around these webinars. So yes, DORA is certainly one of the topics that I will deliver again. Dainis says, does DORA toolkit cover all documentation scope mentioned in DORA, policies, registers, plans, maybe procedures, templates? Yes. So again, we still didn't publish DORA toolkit. We will publish it by the end of the year, and yes, it will publish all the documents, including all the policies, procedures, forms, plans, all of this stuff, and strategies. Yes, so there, because DORA does require, for example, exit strategy, ICT risk management strategy, these kind of things. So it will include also these strategies. And the reason actually it takes so long for us to deliver this, to develop this toolkit, is that it's very, very, very demanding. It's much more complicated than ISO 27001. It will have many more documents than 27001 or DORA. So it's I would say pretty heavy toolkit, so to say. In any case, it's very demanding, but it will be certainly a very, very good product, because we will make sure that you actually have everything for DORA. Good. I don't see any more questions coming in, so let me wrap up the webinar. Okay, so just a few words before we finish. So as I mentioned in this webinar today, I intended to give you an overview of what are the consulting opportunities, not really to go into details of NIS2 and DORA. But of course, to learn more, feel free to open these links that we've sent you, and also sign up for these free trials and see how these tools work, and see if they can really help you in your job. We'll publish the PDF presentation deck with all the links from today's webinar in a clickable format on the same page where you're watching the webinar now, and this will be published in this comments section. So we'll publish it in around 10 minutes. So please just once the webinar ends, do not close this webinar, this browser tab. Keep it open, and then come back in about 10 minutes, and you will see all the links that we published during this webinar today. And also one of these links will be a link to this PDF presentation deck. And we're publishing this also on LinkedIn, so that you can actually you will see these links in a clickable format. So once you publish them again after the webinar, all the links will be in a clickable format, unlike these links that we are sharing now in LinkedIn during the webinar. Okay, finally, we'll also send you a link to our short survey. It's very short, only 3 questions. So I would really appreciate if you have time to answer this poll, just to give me feedback on how I was doing and what we can improve in this webinar. And this would be all. Thank you very much for your participation, and I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. Have a nice day.